What's up, sis? It's your girl. Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the long-awaited, much sought-after Frankenstein video. All of the things that you thought you knew about Frankenstein that they told you in the movies and stuff like that and cartoons, Scooby-Doo, fucking oh shit, I should have looked up who played Frankenstein. The guy who played Frankenstein in the movie Frankenstein, Young Frankenstein. That's not the real Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And we're going to get into that today with this video called All of the Things That You Thought You Knew About Frankenstein That You Never Actually Knew About Frankenstein because they're wrong. So let's get into it. So the very first thing that we have to address when talking about Frankenstein is who is Frankenstein and who is Frankenstein's monster. People like to be like, you are calling him Frankenstein, but Frankenstein was a scientist and Frankenstein's monster is the name of the monster. That's true, but that's also bullshit. Because the real monster in Frankenstein is Victor Frankenstein, the scientist. As you will see through this video, Frankenstein never created a monster. He created a man who he later turned into a monster. Back up. Frankenstein is not 40, 50, 60-year-old scientist with an Igor, blah, blah, blah. He's a hot young dude, a super hot young dude. Let's give him a face. Let's say Tom Hiddleston at 18, 19. Frankenstein starts, like I have told you, a lot of books from this period, Dracula, Wuthering Heights, and Frankenstein, and a bunch of other ones from this period, start with a narrator. And then, boom, something happens and the narrator is now telling the story that is the actual story of the book. In this book, there's a super cute young ship captain who has a dream to sail to the North Pole. Let's picture Eddie Redmayne, because that's basically who we got. So he hires a crew to go up to the North Pole with him. He wants a friend, but everybody on the ship is this big burly man. He's writing letters to his sister Margaret. That's the framework of the story. And one day, mysteriously, a young, shriveled up, super skinny, very sick man washes up in the water next to his boat. One guess who this man is. That's right, it's Tom Hiddleston playing Victor Frankenstein. He's very grim and sad. You know Crimson Peak, Tom Hiddleston? That's who we're dealing with here. Take off 10 years. No offense to Tom. So, we got Eddie Redmayne, the ship captain. He sees Victor Frankenstein downstairs, floating on an ice thing because he's on his way to the North Pole, and he goes, oh shit, he's beautiful. He leans over the side and he's like, yo, bitch, you wanna come up? Victor Frankenstein goes, where are you going? And he goes, dude, you're literally down there starving to death. I see that all of your sled dogs are dead. What do you mean, where are you going? He's like, I'm not coming up till you tell me where you're going. And they're like, we're going to North Pole. And he's like, cool, me too. Pull me up. Eddie Redmayne goes, y'all, listen, I'm gonna take care of this. Put him in my own private quarters. I'm gonna nurse this man back to health. He's gonna be my best friend. He's writing notes to Margaret. He's super excited about his friend, Victor Frankenstein. He's like, oh, he's so sensitive and handsome and smart and intelligent and tortured. I'm gonna fix him. I'm gonna love him back to health. I'm gonna make everything bright and shining between us. We're gonna be friends forever. Margaret never answers, by the way. So Victor Frankenstein goes, the fuck you doing out here in the North Pole? Eddie Redmayne's like, oh, I have a dream. And Victor Frankenstein goes, don't talk to me about dreams. I had a dream once. This is where you start to get the story about Frankenstein's monster. Victor Frankenstein was about 18 to 20 years old, maybe 19 when this starts. He's a young guy on his way to university with his best friend of all time, Clerval. Victor Frankenstein goes, bitch, I'm gonna be the best scientist in the world. I'm gonna make a man myself. So he makes a man out of dead body parts that he steals from graveyards, etc., etc. Now here comes the thing that people don't know about Frankenstein. He's hella fine. He's hella fine. This man was handpicked. There's a lot of homoerotic subtext in the 1800s, as I'm sure you can tell, by Eddie Redmayne, Clerval, and Frankenstein's weird love triangle. Also, Frankenstein this whole time is engaged to his cousin, who he's lived with as a sister since he was a baby, who's not really his cousin. They found her. And the fuck, it gets weird. She's not super important. All you had to know is Mary Shelley wrote this very beautiful, maybe a self-insert, because she's very perfect, who's the sweetest woman in the world. She's back at home. Victor Frankenstein is currently in England studying. He makes a man, handpicking every single thing to be the tallest, the buffest, the hottest, the finest, the most well-proportioned, the handsomest. He makes the most perfect specimen of man to ever be created. There's no lightning involved, by the way. He specifically says throughout the book, every single time that it comes up, very clever of Mary Shelley, Victor Frankenstein says, I'm not going to tell you anything about how I did it because you're going to do it. And I don't want anybody to do that shit because that monster was fucked up. So there's no lightning involved. There's no process at all. That motherfucker opens his eyes And Frankenstein goes, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. Immediately, he's like, I fucked up. So he freaks out. The thing he created that is just a dude at this point, like a baby. So that thing's like, where the fuck is he going? Can't think. It doesn't know any words. It doesn't know right from wrong. It doesn't know hot from cold. It's just here like brand new. It's a baby. Frankenstein does not see it as a baby. He sees it as an abomination. He goes running. The monster wanders out into the street and just disappears into the woods for 3 years. You find out that what he did in these 3 years was get chased away from every fucking village that he ever walked into, find out the difference between hot and cold real quick, and then he comes across a house. And in this house, he sees some people, and they're the first people who haven't chased him. Mind you, they don't know he's there. They probably would have chased him if they did. They're like a struggling, desolate little family. The monster sits there, learning about the family, falling in love with the family, providing for the family, like running out and grabbing them food at any point that he can, and one day decides, it's time, I'm gonna show them who I am. This family consists of an old blind man, his son, his daughter, and then later the son's like paramour. One day the brother, the sister, and the paramour go out. Frankenstein walks into the blind man and he's like, I can't tell you who I am because you will not like me, blah, blah, blah. The blind man's like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, sit down, eat, we're cool. His family comes back and they're like, what the fuck is that thing? And he's like, what the fuck is what thing, my friend? And they're like, he's fucked up looking. Frankenstein's monster at this point is like, oh God, I know I'm fucked up looking. Everybody hits me all the time. He goes running. They're like, get out of here, you fucking crazy monster. That's where his humanity, his innocence is fully lost. He goes back to Frankenstein. He's like, listen, sis, I know I've been gone a long time. I've been giving you your space. We're not gonna do that anymore. Frankenstein's like, fuck no. I hate you. You're nasty. The monster's like, damn, this is not how I thought that things would go. I'm gonna collect myself and then I'm gonna come back and fuck your shit up. So he comes back, he fucks Victor Frankenstein's shits up. He kills his baby brother. He frames his like servant friend. He blames her for the death of the baby brother. By the way, the death count at this point is 2. Frankenstein is all fucked up about it. But the thing about Frankenstein is he won't tell anybody about the monster because he's like, then they'll know that I fucked up. And also they might ask me how I made him and then everyone's gonna make him. I can't bring that upon the world. He's very like gothic romance. He's all fucked up about the baby dying and he starts having fits. Because back in the 1800s, people had fits all the time, nervous breakdowns. He's anxious, he's crying, he's freaking out. Everyone's like, oh fuck, he's crazy. Frankenstein's monster comes back and he's like, listen, if you make me a woman to love, I will fuck off with that woman to the desert and never come back. And that's a fact. So he calls up his family and he's like, listen, family, I know that shit's fucked up around here, but I need to go do some shit. Clerval, his best friend, goes, sis, I don't know if that's the best idea, seeing as you've been having a lot of nervous breakdowns and you seem pretty fucked up. You keep yelling about monsters and shit. How about I go with you? And he's like, Clerval, you my day one. Okay, let's go. They go cross-continental and they're like, we're gonna do a road trip. And Victor Frankenstein has a really good time hanging out with Clerval, but he has a feeling that the monster is following him, which he is, because the monster just likes to follow Frankenstein and be like, what's daddy up to? Victor Frankenstein goes, listen, Clerval, I need to dip out for just a second. Give me 1 month to just do my own shit. I've been loving this road trip with you, but fam, I need to go do some shit on my own, and I can't tell you what it is, and you can't ask, and you can't tell my family. Clerval's like, that's a lot of stipulations, fam. But okay. Clerval waits for Frankenstein in Scotland. He's like, I'm gonna hang out here. Frankenstein's like, I'm gonna go to a village in Scotland where no one's gonna ask any questions because they're all starving to death and very poor. He starts digging up the graves, trying to find a wife. The first time he was blinded by his own genius, his incredible genius. Now he's like, fuck, I made a monster the first time. He's anxious, he's vomiting, nervous fits, etc., etc. One night he's working on this project and he sees a face in the window, and guess who it happens to be? Could be that he was just excited and wanted to see. Victor Frankenstein does not read it that way. He says he is hell-bent on destroying, and he can see it in his eyes. He's murderous. So Victor Frankenstein gets incited to a passion and starts tearing the thing apart. The monster's like, ah, no. He walks in. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you gonna break your promise? Victor Frankenstein's like, fuck yeah, I'm breaking my promise. I know if you and this monster get together, she might want to kill some shit, and you love her, so you're gonna let her kill some shit. He rips the thing apart. He's like, fuck no, and fuck you. Frankenstein's monster is crying, he's sobbing, he's upset. He's like, I'm gonna be with you on your wedding night, fam. And he dips. Victor Frankenstein's like, how does he know I'm getting married to Elizabeth? He gets a bunch of pistols, he gets a bunch of knives, and he's like, fuck this. I'ma be ready. He very moodily rows out in the middle of the night into the Scottish seas and dumps the dead body parts into the ocean, drifts for a long time, ends up back on shore, and everybody starts looking at him all funny, and he's like, what the fuck? And they're like, we saw your boat out there last night. There's a dead body right here that's still warm. It's not us. Who's it gonna be? And he's like, what dead body? He looks down, Clerval, bitch. Victor Frankenstein goes into his like third set of nervous breakdowns in this book so far. They arrest him. The dad comes in, he's like, listen, son, I know you've been going through a hard time considering everyone that you love is slowly dying in succession, but you and Elizabeth are still alive. We will have new things to love as your marriage progresses. The dad produces a letter from Elizabeth, and Elizabeth's like, listen, I know we've been close since we were little kids, but I cannot help but notice that every time you come home, you're more and more fucked up about shit. I just can't help but feel like maybe you are doing this because you don't want to marry me. Frankenstein has been in love with Elizabeth since he was a little kid, so he looks at the letter and he's like, fuck. So he writes a letter back right away, and he's like, listen, girl, there's a really horrible, vengeful secret that is weighing on my mind that will make you want to divorce me. It has to do with a lot of evil shit, and I will tell you that the day after we get married. But do not ask me about it until we get married. They get home. Elizabeth's like, what's up, Frankenstein? And he's like, what's up, girl? Don't ask. And she's like, okay. The dad's like, we're gonna get you guys married in like 10 days. Frankenstein's like, sure. Let me like stock up on pistols because I know that monster's coming for me. You, the audience, by the way, have the foresight to think to yourself, I don't think he's coming for you, Frankenstein. Like, I can clearly see a pattern here of how things are going. So the wedding comes, the wedding goes, they're super excited, everybody's happy, except for Elizabeth and Frankenstein. So Elizabeth had inherited a bunch of land across the lake. They get on a boat and they're crossing the lake to go get her land, and both of them are brooding like motherfuckers, and Frankenstein's like, what's wrong? And she's like, listen, let's just not worry. We just got married. It's cool. Look at how pretty all the fishes are. Look at the mountains. Everything's great. Frankenstein's like, I can't think about that right now because I'm fucked up about some shit. So they land. They go into a little inn, and Frankenstein's just like pacing with all his guns. And she's like, fam, are you going to come to bed? We just got married. And he's like, listen, after tonight, everything's going to be smooth sailing. Just tonight, have patience. Shit's fucked up. She goes inside. Frankenstein's pacing. He hears a scream. You go, yeah. That's about how it would happen. He goes running into the room. She's dead as fuck. He's like, oh no! So he looks up, and in that window, the Frankenstein's monster is there, grotesquely murderous in his face. He starts shooting. The monster jumps into the lake. Everyone in the inn and the surrounding area runs outside like, what the fuck do you have guns for? This is 1800s Switzerland. He's like, listen, a monster just ran into the lake, and right before that, it killed my wife. Everyone's like, oh! Now you as the audience are wondering why they don't suspect him of killing his wife, considering he has pockets full of guns. But I guess it's fine. I mean, he has been accused of murder now like 3 times in this book. He gets back in that boat to go home and tell his father that Elizabeth is now dead. He goes back and he's like, hey dad, she's dead. The dad goes, well, fuck it then. The dad dies. Frankenstein is like, fuck this. Gets in his little sleigh. He hires some dogs. He goes village to village and he goes, did you see some horrible shit? They go, yeah, he was just here. Frankenstein, the monster, knows that Frankenstein, the doctor, is following him. So he's leaving notes in the snow and like carved into rocks with his big ass hands that say like, hey Frankenstein, it's me, your monster friend. Shit's gonna be real fucked up. You can feel cold, but I can't. So guess where we're going? By the way, here's a rabbit that I caught for you. Eat up. You're gonna need it. He's just leaving notes like this all the way up the coast so that Frankenstein will keep following him. Now you, the audience, are going, maybe stop following him. Frankenstein, the guy, eventually starts gaining on Frankenstein, the monster. They come to the coast where there's a whole bunch of ice. And just as Frankenstein is about to catch the monster and kill him with his pockets full of guns, the ice cracks. And his little iceberg starts drifting away from the monster. Then this boat comes up, Eddie Redmayne pops out the side. We know where this starts. Victor Frankenstein at this point is like, if you see the monster, I need you to kill him because listen to me. This monster is extremely eloquent, he is very well spoken, and he will convince you out of anything. Eddie Redmayne's like, okay. Mutiny behind him. And they're like, hey, so we've been stuck out here in the ice like 6 days and we don't like it. We're thinking that if the ice opens back towards the south, we should go home. Victor Frankenstein sits up for the first time in the whole fucking book and he goes, are you men or are you not? He does this extremely moving speech and everyone's like, all right, maybe we will go north. We're gonna go talk about it. Tom Hiddleston sinks and faints. When Victor Frankenstein eventually wakes up, much later, he's like, I can't die yet. I have to kill that monster. And Eddie Redmayne's like, I love you so much. I don't want you to die. He dies. Eddie Redmayne is sitting there with his soup and his best friend, and he's like sobbing, and he's very upset. The mutineers just left, and he's crying his eyes out, and he hears someone else crying. And Eddie Redmayne goes, the fuck? He twists his head, he looks out the porthole, and guess who's there? Yes, that's right, bitch. It's the monster hanging by his fingers outside of the window. He starts to dip. Eddie Redmayne's like, yo, listen, wait. The monster goes. The monster starts crying. He's like, this was the only thing that I loved in my life, and the only thing that had the potential to love me, and now he's dead. He was so handsome and so smart and so cool. What I'm supposed to do now, fam? He never made me a wife. I ain't got no kids. The fuck? And Eddie Redmayne's like, hey, hang on, wait. What was that thing that Victor Frankenstein said about you being a liar? He goes, bitch, you can't fool me. No, you killed a bunch of people. The monster goes, do you think I had a good time killing people? He uses the words, when Elizabeth died, not when I strangled the life out of Elizabeth. She was so beautiful and cool and great and perfect. Do you think I liked killing her? No, I didn't like killing her, but when she died, I cried my eyes out. Bro, I just wanted someone to love me. People aren't capable of loving anything but themselves, and so I hate this world and I don't want to live in it because I know that I'm not worthy of it, and then I'm just gonna keep on getting burned the rest of my life, so I might as well just go burn myself. I'm gonna go to the North Pole, I'm gonna make a funeral pyre, and I'm gonna sit in that fire willingly and joyfully, knowing that this is what I deserve. Anyways, peace. He jumps out the window. Eddie Redmayne is sitting there like, and that is the end of the book, my friends. There is no burning the monster at the stake. There is no monster gets away with his baby and his bride and has a great time. No. We are not sure whether this monster is a monster or a man. We are not sure whether he is a liar or just very hurt. It could be that he's just super misunderstood. Or it could be that he's a fucking monster and he's jumping out that window to go kill a whole bunch more people and Eddie Redmayne just let him go. We do not fucking know. And that is why Frankenstein is one of the fucking scariest books ever, and a great read for Halloween if you're looking for a book to read this Halloween. That's basically what the book is about. It's about man playing God and man's arrogance and man's inability to love other creatures aside from himself. That's if you see Frankenstein's monster as a sympathetic character. If you don't, it's just a fucking horror story about this terrible, terrible creature who killed everyone in the world and might be out to kill more. So depending on how you read it, it can be either very scary or even scarier. And I'll let you decide which is which. Anyways, sis, that's the tea. Thank you for being here today. We're very happy to have had you. Until next time, please remember to love your neighbor, people, plants, and animals, to take a meatless Monday, and to read more. I mean, why the fuck not? Thank you. Bye.